Hello everyone! I'm very glad you enjoyed that game I posted yesterday. Young Vincent really crushed the field in the GRENKE Chess Open tournament. But here we have a game from the GRENKE Chess Classic, round 3. It's German Grandmaster Georg Meier against World Chess Championship challenger Fabiano Caruana. And ever since Fabiano won the candidates, it's a bit different to play against him than before he actually won the candidates. Now if you by any chance win a game against him, you'll always be able to say, you know, that one time at the GRENKE Chess Festival I defeated the world champion if Caruana ever beats Carlsen in their World Chess Championship match. So, I mean, definitely the stakes are now higher that he's the challenger. And it's an excellent game. I decided to show it because it features one line against E4 in the Ruy Lopez that is extremely interesting. But you'll see what I mean by this. And I don't have any photos of this encounter as it is a rest day today at the GRENKE Chess Classic. But you know, the video production team thinks that if it's a rest day for the players, that it's a rest day for them, which, you know, I don't think it is, but okay. But I do have one photo of them. Here we have Georg Meier and Fabiano Caruana, and Matthias Blubaum there in the background, probably you know, taking a stroll, relaxing from his own game and checking out other games. And it's a photo that was sent to me by Enzo Kaisa. He's a subscriber. He contacted me over Instagram, and he will be there every day. So if I will not be having any official photos, I will always have at least one photo or two to use from Enzo. So thank you a lot, Enzo. I'm very glad you sent the photos to me. And I also prepared the standings after round 3, but I'll show you this after the game. So let's see the game. Georg Meier has the white pieces, and he opens with e4. We have e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop to b5. So the Ruy Lopez, like we said, a6, and now bishop captures on c6. Bishop captures on c6 is one of the reasons I never play the Ruy Lopez as black. And this game actually might make me change my opinion. D captures on c6 by Caruana, castles, and now queen to f6. The exchange variation of the Ruy Lopez is something that in any book you read will tell you that white doesn't really have anything here, but if white plays solid moves, then he will actually have some long-term advantage. Like Bobby Fischer was a big fan of this variation, and he crushed many opponents in this variation. But I really hate playing it with black, so probably the exchange variation of the Ruy Lopez is the reason why I never play it with black. But, like I said, after d4, e captures on d4, and the bishop to g5, Caruana played queen to d6, and now comes the knight captures on d4, winning back the pawn. Bishop to e7, and here you don't really want to capture the bishop. This would only help black develop. You can simply castle, develop the light square bishop. Either way, black will be perfectly fine here. So Meier goes bishop back to e3. Sorry, we have knight to h6 now, and queen to d2. And here we have g5, and this is the move I really like, and this is why I really enjoy this game, because in the candidates tournament you had the game where Kramnik played the g5 move in the Berlin, and now you have Fabiano Caruana employing g5 in the exchange variation of the Ruy Lopez. So this is very interesting stuff, and really making the variation interesting. So what do you do here? Obviously, if you capture it, you get bishop captures, queen captures, and rook to g8. You're not going to have a lot of fun here as white. You move the queen, queen captures, and now after queen captures on b2, you do have to protect the rook, knight to d2, and now queen to c3. Not allowing the queen to capture here, as the knight on d2 is attacked. But even if you try this, then you're going to lose the game immediately, because rook to h8 actually traps your queen, so the queen has nowhere to go. But either way, a very interesting idea. g5, so knight to f3, opening up a discovered attack on Fabiano's queen on d6, and now rook to g8. And here Meier can definitely play queen captures, bishop captures, push h4 next, but he decides to keep the queens on the board. He plays h4 immediately. We have queen to g6, h captures on g5, and now knight to g4. So Fabiano's plan is play h6, exchange the pawn here, make an open h file for the rook, place the rooks on the h file, and attack the white king on g1. So knight to c3, we have h6, bishop to f4, and now bishop to e6. Bishop captures on c7, Meier thinks he does have time to grab a pawn here, rook to c8, pushing the bishop back, bishop to b6, and now h captures on g5, finally opening up the h file. Knight to e2, bringing the knight over to g3 to help out with the defense, c5 now, not allowing this bishop to protect the king side anymore. We have knight to g3, and now rook h8. Rook f to d1. If this bishop ever moves, then maybe queen to d7 will become an idea. Queen to h6, now the knights are placed on f3 and g3, but if they ever move, then queen to h2 and h1 could become a thing. b4 now, here the idea is Meier wants Fabiano to capture so the bishop can become active again. Here bishop to f6 would have been the best idea for Fabi. After bishop to f6, this would prevent Meier's idea completely, as it comes into game with a tempo on the rook. But okay, c captures on b4, and now bishop to d4. Now this bishop becomes a very powerful piece on d4. Also comes with a tempo on the rook on h8. Here f6 by Fabi, blocking the attack on the rook, and we have c3 now. B captures on c3, B captures on c3, and here king to f7 was played. Fabiano doesn't allow queen to d7 to come with check, but here he actually missed a crushing move that completely obliterates white. Here he had knight to h2. Knight to h2 with the idea of knight, of course, capturing on f3, and then the queen can come all the way to h2. And here you do have to play knight to e1. To prevent any ideas after the queen checks the king and the king comes to f1, then bishop to c4 check will be met with knight to d3. So knight to e1, a move you absolutely have to play. But then comes the bishop to g4. You attack the rook after f3, and now queen to h4. You capture the bishop, queen captures knight here, and after queen to d7 check, king to f7, and as you can see, black is completely crushing this position. The bishop on c3 is attacked twice by the rook and by the queen, and the position is very much in black's favor. Knight captures on g4 is coming with threats of queen f2, queen h2. A pretty terrible position for white. But okay, after queen to c3, Fabi first decided to go king to f7, and then rook a to c1 was played. And here Fabi plays rook to c4. Now, could he have gone knight to h2 again? There was this very interesting variation now with the threat of capturing on f2, on f3 once again. And there was an interesting variation. What if white tries a knight to d4 to prevent this? Now the knight on h2 looks pretty silly. But now you actually get knight to f1 and the white is lost. What's the idea? Of course, there's the threat of capturing and then coming to h1, and after white accepts this, king captures on f1, now you get bishop to c4 check. King to e1, and now queen captures on h1, sacrificing the queen, knight captures, rook captures, and this is checkmate. The bishop is keeping the king away from escaping. But the problem is, after knight to h2 now, here Meier would have knight captures on g5, and black has nothing here. You have captures, bishop captures on h8, rook captures, and now rook to c7. Knight to g4, but simply queen to d6, and now you're threatening on capturing the bishop on e7, and after queen comes to check, rook has to help out with the defense, and there is no way for black to continue his attack. White is perfectly fine here. So here Fabi goes rook to c4, and Meier blocks the attack on the e4 pawn with bishop to d4. We have b5, and here queen to a5. Here a must move for Meier was rook captures on c4. After bishop captures, rook to c1, the game continues. There's no real way for black to do anything here on the queen side. But for some reason Meier decided to play queen to a5. It's like he's like saying Fabi doesn't have anything here on the queen side. I have enough time to grab a pawn here. Fabi plays finally knight to h2, and here knight to e1 was again a must move for Meier, but he says, Fabi, you've got nothing here, I'm gonna capture the pawn. So queen captures on a6, Fabi says okay, knight captures on f3, g captures on f3, and now Fabi goes g4. G4 is a good move. It's probably a move that will in the long run win for black, but here Fabi misses again a crushing idea, queen to h2 check. It seems like an obvious move. Of course, everyone wants to play queen to h2 check, but it's very hard to find a follow-up, because the idea is after king to f1, now the winning move is actually rook h to c8, and this is something I don't think anyone would see, because it's totally not logical. I mean, why would you move your rook away from the h file? You've planned your entire game how to open up the h file to attack the white king, and now you want to bring your rook all the way to c8. Now the idea here is that black is actually threatening rook captures on c1, which wins the game, and another thing, black is threatening rook captures on d4. Because after rook captures on d4, either white will capture here, and then black will capture the rook on c1, or white will capture the rook on c8, and then you will, after capturing on d4, capture the rook on d1 and win the game. So here you don't really have any move for white. If you try bishop to b2, to simply guard the rook on c1 and not allow any of these captures, then rook to c2 wins. And there is no defense against queen captures on f2. You could try rook captures, again there's the threat of capturing, and after this maybe last attempt by white to maybe defend the f2 pawn and prevent bishop to c5, as the bishop is pinned here, now bishop to h3 wins the game. King moves, now queen g1 check, knight e2, knight f1, and queen captures on f1. This is checkmate. So this is a move Fabi missed, this queen to h2 check, but I don't think anyone would find rook h to c8, simply because you don't expect there to be such a move. But okay, he played g4, we have f4 now, not allowing to open up, queen captures on f4, and now rook captures on c4, b captures on c4, and bishop to e3, attacking the queen. Queen to f3, and it's extremely hard to find a move here for white. You can't move your knight. If you move the knight, you get rook to h1. This would be checkmate. Fabi's plan is very clear. Fabi wants to play rook to h3 and capture the knight here, and you don't have any way of preventing this. Meier tried rook to d6, with the idea of either black will capture and then maybe the queen will get some perpetual ideas, or he will simply capture the bishop here. But of course Fabi ignores him. Rook to h3, now Meier doesn't really have a move here, you can't move the knight, so rook captures, and now comes rook captures on g3. This is with check, f captures, queen captures on e3 with check, king to h2, and here queen to f2 check, king to h1, and here Fabi played queen to f1 check, and it was in this position that Georg Meier resigned the game, because I'm sure all of you can see what follows next. It's a forced checkmate in 2, feel free to find it. Feel free to even pause the video if you don't see it immediately, but I'm sure all of you do, so I'm not going to even wait for you to pause the video. The idea is after king to h2, queen h3 is coming, king g1, and then bishop finally moves to c5, and this is now checkmate. The queen is slicing all the way to f1. So yeah, after queen to f1 check, Meier resigned the game, and a very nice win for Fabiano Caruana, and I think that I might actually start playing e5 and the Rui Lopez, maybe with the black pieces, because now you have so many options here. You can go for the Marshall attack, you could go for the g5 variation of the Berlin, like Kramnik showed us. You now have the g5 variation in the exchange variation of the Rui Lopez, which I'm sure is not a novelty. I just don't think I've ever seen it. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Mark Wetzler, Ken Stefan, Jesse Bailhart, Mark Gelband, Theo Drivas, and Rachel Simmons for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. And one other special announcement. I would like to congratulate a happy birthday to Matija, who is a 22-year-old professional handball player from Croatia, and not only that, he's soon to finish college. So I'm very happy. His girlfriend Anna contacted me and requested me to congratulate him a happy birthday, because in a weird way it really does make me happy that people are starting to consider a chess channel like a cool place to wish someone a happy birthday. Yeah, maybe it's not to congratulate someone, maybe it's to wish someone a happy birthday. So either way, I'm very happy you contacted me, and once again, Matija, happy birthday to you, and I hope you celebrate it like a boss. So that's it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon with another interesting video. And of course, I forgot, I did not show you the standings after round 3. So here they are. These are the standings after round 3 of the GRENKE Chess Classic. In first place for now, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave with 2.5 out of 3 points. Nikita Vityugov also 2.5 points out of 3. Then we have with 2 points Levon Aronian, Magnus Carlsen, and Caruana Fabiano. Aronian, the defender of the title, he's the winner of the GRENKE Chess Classic of 2017. So we'll see if he can do it again this year. Then with 1 point, Vishwanathan Anand and Matthias Blubaum, also Arkady Naidich, and with half a point each, only 1 draw, Hou Yifan and Georg Meier after losing this game to Fabiano Caruana. So yeah, those were the standings. I do hope you enjoyed all of this. Thank you all, and I will see you soon.